Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica, Hebrew Honey. We're starting on the third chapter today of Ruth, and a very interesting chapter. Becomes even more interesting when we understand the background of some of the elements of the story. We're going to get to the threshing floor. We're going to go to the relative. We're going to go certain words. They have an apparent or obvious translation or meaning, but they also have a lot of background. So we're gonna first look at what's very easy. Anybody can see it, and then we're gonna say, okay, why are these elements in the story? Why would this be placed here? Why wouldn't we understand it in this way? What do these things mean in the Middle Eastern culture? How grain is threshed out? How things happen in that culture? So in this particular chapter, the Masoretes, that is the people who did the text translation, they had a lot of work. I haven't counted them. I really should maybe tell you what that is. But how many times they have to say, we have a better reading here. We have a better reading here. And in the Masoretic text, you have the written, which is there. And then the Masoretes will read it real well. And they go, we have to substitute a word here. This word has to be added, or this word has to be subtracted, and so forth. They never wanted to ever edit. They never edited text. The text is still there, so we're still dealing with very much a very, very, very stable text. That's one of the most notable things about what happens in transmission of the text is very stable. But there were certain people said, hey, it should be read in a different way. Sometimes, most of the times, I'd say most of the times, the people who read and translate from Hebrew to whatever language look at the Mashra, they look at what the Masoretes have done, and they go, okay, that's fine. Sometimes they say, no, that's we won't accept that. There's a decision process as to many times it's just simply small things about whether something is singular or plural, or whether it's not going to make big changes as to the meaning of the text. It's the details that are there. But as we've known, sometimes the details most certainly are important in a story or in a teaching. So we're going to get into Ruth 3, the first two verses. I was going to do 3 verses, but I realized, I got plenty enough material on 2 verses. Wow. It's a beautiful passage too. So we're going to want to see it in all of its beauty as well. So let's get into it. We're going to do the first part, first 8 minutes or so in English. Then we're going to get into the Hebrew, of course, and then from there we'll do a reading at the end of the passage, these 2 verses. So then Naomi, her mother-in-law, Motah, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you?" And at that time, I have 2 translations here because there is a certain word here that has what we call the very first root meaning of it, and that's what we have here, rest, manoach. And then what does it mean to have rest? What does it mean? How do you figure that one out? How do you get rest? Where does that come from? In the society, how do we find rest in a society? And then we get to this translation. At that time, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you." And that's not just any home, it's a stable home, one that's Lord-centered and so forth. And in other words, manoach brings stability to life. I want to find stability. Some people even go saying, I have to find security for you. Okay, so at this point, when you get to the word manoach, you're going to be talking security, rest, home, home place where you feel at home, place where you're secure, where you're safe, and so forth. It may go well with you, yatev. This is a verbal form of tov. We've seen tov in the last 2 or 3 verses when Naomi said, "Oh, it's tov. It's good that you're with those workers." In other words, we've seen the most commentary version of the word. Here, it's a verbal form that it may go well. It may be well with you, Atam. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, so the relationship's still always established, and that stays with her through the whole thing, said to her, to Lach, that is Ruth right here, "Biti," very much my daughter, very much a very personable title. Boaz uses the same title. BT, my daughter, my daughter. It's one that shows caring and love for her. In other words, a daughter that you would treat as your own daughter, even though it is the daughter-in-law, but she calls her daughter. That's BT. Should I not? This is one of those rhetorical, reflexive type questions. Shouldn't I? Hello? Isn't that what has to happen? Hello? So it's a hello. The hey is the questioning hey, and then the lo, is it not? And isn't this what? So some people don't follow, and this one does follow it, and I think, oh yeah, here, notice the difference in these two translations. My daughter, should I not seek for you? This is the very literal one. Hello, ebakesh. Okay, should I not seek? And this one is, my daughter, I must seek a home for you. In other words, they just take that negative type of question, and this one is formulated as a question. In Hebrew, it is formulated as a question. Okay, hello. And this one, they just simply swap the whole thing over to an affirmation. And it's no longer a question. I have to seek a home for you. I have to find manoah for you. And it's an interesting observation. She isn't leaving it to Ruth. It's Naomi has to figure this out. And Naomi knows the society. She knows the rules, the regulations, the whole matter of Levirate marriages, reestablishing a name, reestablishing the property. She knows all that. Okay, now let's apply it. Okay, let's put it to the test here. Let's apply this thing. And now, same kind of question here, and a rhetorical type question. Is not Boaz our relative? I'd say the other translation, I didn't put the second verse of this translation. I believe this is, I forget which one that is, but this translation can also be stated firmly. Boaz, our relative, is the man that you were with, the young women that worked for him. Okay, so she's identified who Boaz. This once Naomi heard the name of Boaz towards the end of the second chapter, becomes front and center in what happens from here on. Naomi really has some very strong ideas about the matter. So, okay, Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, should I not seek rest? Manoah is, if you know Bible names and so forth, Manoah is the name of Samson's father. And Samson's father, first of all, his wife received a vision from the angel out in the field. The wife told Manoah, says, hey, an angel talked to me out in the field. And so then she's out there in the field again. Okay, the angel speaks to her again. She runs back into the town, grabs Manoah and hauls him out there. And so the angel has a message for Manoah. And the message, of course, is that Samson has to be born. He's got to keep all the rules of not cutting his hair, not drinking wine, all the things that were required of this not shir, that is dedicated. He has to be dedicated to the Lord. Of course, Samson really didn't keep any of that. Now, but it's very interesting to see there the name of the father. The father was Manoah, rest. And what the Lord was seeking was rest for his people. For at that point, Israelites were under attack from the Philistines, and so they needed rest. And so the Lord came to send an angel to Manoah. Okay, you're going to get a son. Boom, he's got to do this and this and this and this. And the whole concept is the Lord wanted to find rest for his people at that point. From the Philistines were causing a lot of trouble, and they were attacking, and they were, they were in battle with the Israelites. But rest had to be found, and a very interesting contrast there. Rest was not found. Samson, instead of being faithful to his vows, and instead of doing things according to the way the Lord had told him how to do it, he was connecting up with the Philistine women. He was doing all kinds of wild stuff, and in the end, he loses his life pulling down the columns that held up the temple, the pagan temple. And with that, many more people were killed than even in the lifetime that Samson. Samson was supposed to bring Manoah, supposed to bring rest. Didn't happen. So it was one of the ironies. And this, by the way, was very much, if you look back into where we're coming from, very much in the time of the judges. Samson was one of the judges, and you go And you'd say one of the more colorful judges, but one of the more judges that should have accomplished a whole lot, but kind of went down with a flame of glory or ignominy, whatever you want to describe that. But anyway, Samson, Shimshon means the sunshine guy, but the sunshine guy really wasn't so sunny. So there was Shimshon didn't bring rest to the people. So here Naomi says, I have to find manoach, I have to find rest for you, I have to find security for you, I have to find a good place for you. That, of course, will only be received from the Lord. But in the meantime, look for somebody that can help you out in the matter. This is Boaz. Is not Boaz a relative? Now, this is Moadanu. That's in the Hebrew here. This word is very much related to the first one it's also found in Ruth 2, verse 1. Same kind of thing with the relative. When this word comes out, it's and we're going to stick around for the Hebrew. We'll get into the way this word is formed. I'm not going to, since I don't have the Hebrew before us, but we'll state a relative is somebody who has things to do, has responsibilities, and this is the relative then that is going to bring manoach, bring rest to you and to us. She wants, of course, wants to include herself. Is not Boaz a relative with whose young women you were? Okay, this is not otav. This is again, we've seen this plural form quite often in previous chapter. See, hine, take a look. Wow. Okay, this is if you go back to the root forms of the hay right here, it's somebody standing there with their hands up in the air, just like a football goal. Okay, hey, take a look. He's winnowing barley tonight. Zerah. Zerah is a very colorful, very a word that's it's also the same word. There's also one of the sons of Tamar. Zerah is when things spread out like this. You go, shh. And it also uses to winnow. It's also the rays of the sun. They spread out. It's also plants. Plants, why? Plants have veins going out through their leaves. So Zerah is a very, very, very symbolic word. Interesting enough, he isn't exactly doing that. He's out there with the barley. He's taking care of the barley. He's sleeping beside the barley, but he's not throwing it into the air. Okay, so in a sense, here Naomi is using it as an excuse, just saying, "Oh, he should be out there, yeah, throwing grain into the air and seeing the wind blow off the chaff and so forth." But it's quite apparent that Boaz simply went out there. First of all, he probably had a bit of a party with his friends in town. People in the Middle East want to be sociable about it, and it's highly unlikely he was drinking by himself. But he had a little party. But so he walked out to the field, out to the gora, to the threshing floor, and he took a nice nap beside the grain. He's taken this in harvest time. Men had to do that because they have to protect. It would be very easy to just steal the grain. Somebody sneak out there at night and fill up a few buckets of grain and steal it. So he's out there to take care of his grain. He's very attentive to the details. He's out with the barley, shorin, the barley with the hair, on the threshing floor, on the goren. Threshing floors were places where the people would lay out the grain, barley, wheat with the stalks, and then they would either beat it with the sticks, or they even tied sleds with the sleds that were pulled by oxen. And these oxen, you're not supposed to tie their mouths shut when they're doing this. They're supposed to be able to, lean down once in a while and grab a bite to eat as they're working. So, in other words, don't if you're working, don't keep food away from the person. So, this is a very interesting concept. Gordon, by the way, has a lot of meaning. Threshing floor, I'm using Hebrew here as to this word, has a lot of meaning in how things are done, or how things are decided in that society. When Gideon received the vision of the angel coming to him, first of all, the angel came to visit him in the winepress, which was hidden. But then later on, when Gideon was laying out the fleece, he was laying it out on the threshing floor. A threshing floor is where things separate out. You got the grain from the chaff. The wind blows through. Good sides over here, bad sides over here. So in a threshing floor is symbolic of sorting things out. Good things blowing, or good things staying in place, bad things blowing away. The chaff blows off and the grain stays. Incidentally, this goren is threshing floor becomes very important at the time of David, because David at one point wanted a place to place the temple, and so he went to Araunah, one of the Hittites, said, I have to, buy your threshing floor. He went out there, and wow, it isn't just the purchase of a threshing floor. Threshing floor, yeah, that eventually did get purchased, but David faces up to an angel, and the angel's about to kill him, and the angel says, hey, choose what you want. What you want. You want a plague? You want this? You want this? David says, well, I'd rather fall into the hands of the Lord. So with that, a plague strikes the country. Very symbolic. In other words, a goren, a threshing floor, is where you meet up with God, and it has to be decided one way or the other. Boom, something has to happen. Decision-making place. And in that sense, it's kind of interesting to see why a temple would be built in that place, where then the ark would be placed there and so forth. Why this had to happen, it's in a sense of where we meet God and where God separates the grain from the chaff. In other words, decision time. And so threshing floors are very symbolic in that regard. In a sense, yeah, when Naomi here sends Ruth over to the threshing floor, it's kind of like saying it's decision time. Something has to be decided at this point. The chaff has to be separated from the grain. Something has to be decided. So she's sending there for and gives Ruth, of course, decides beforehand she's going to do exactly what Naomi is saying, and Boaz then has to make the decision as whether he'll be the redeemer, will he be the honest relative, or what's going to happen. And of course, the story moves forward, and we understand. If you get to stick around to the end of the chapter, Boaz most certainly makes the decision to redeem, to rescue, to provide rest, to rescue the family, restore the name of Elimelech and his sons, and rescue the inheritance and so forth. All those good things happen because Boaz has opened his heart to the direction of the Lord and what he must do to restore this family. So let's get on to some of the Hebrew here. Very interesting, as you're probably hearing already from the translation. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, that says Vatomer, Lach Naomi, and then said to her, and she said to her, that's to Ruth. The antecedent of this, I think Ruth is, I don't know if it's mentioned later, but yeah, this personal pronoun here refers to Ruth. Then she said to her, Naomi said to her, Hamotach, that is the mother-in-law. Mother-in-laws are always concerned about the way the family's structured. Okay, and what the roles of the people involved in the family. So that's where this is coming from. Hamotach. Biti, my daughter. Hello, is it not? Okay, so when you see a hey with a hatef patah right here, that's this particular. Masoretes have been very helpful for in this regard. When you see this particular, if you see it inside, you don't have to think of it that way. When you see it at the first opening syllable, when you see it in the opening syllable of a verb, of a affirmation, whatever it is, it's questioning. Okay, and probably there was hello, or there was some sort of dip in the way it's said that really allows people to understand it. Hello, isn't this? And so it's a question then. Okay, you see this thing, you see it over here too. This aleph right here has the same hatef patah, and also makes this one same question, in fact. Okay, is it not that I would seek? Okay, so the hatef patah, the Masoretes use it to get our eyes open and see that this is a question. It's a questioning thing. Hello, is it not? Okay, is it not? Will it not be? And Ebakash lech lach, that I would seek for you. Okay. Okay. Here's an interesting thing. You see this mapik with to her. This is to you. Yeah, this is the preposition towards. This preposition towards. This is third person. This one's second person. Okay. Evakesh lach lach, that I would seek for you. Manoach. This is a Noach root word. Okay. Why do we say Noach? Because it comes from Nun Chet, and that's Noach. Mr. Noach, who built the ark, the Lord selected him. The Lord wanted rest on the earth. The earth was tearing itself to pieces with all kinds of sin and wild parties and noise and all kinds of stuff, and it was getting on the Lord's nerves. It's interesting when you read this. I've had it with the earth. So he chooses Noach. He chooses Mr. Rest in order to build an ark, keep God's people safe in the ark, and the rest of the world was destroyed with the flood. So Manoach, this is the rest. Okay? As I said, Samson's father's name was this, and the Lord expected rest through Samson, but it didn't happen. One of the tragedies of the time of the judges. Manoach is a very, very interesting, beautiful word, and bringing rest. Rest here doesn't mean just go out and sleep all the time or do nothing. It means a good place. It means a family. It means a home. It means stable relationships, one with the other, and so forth. That's what manoach is. That's what rest is. Shouldn't I be seeking this? I have this responsibility. This is first person prefix form of bakash. Bakash is to seek. Interestingly enough, the virtuous woman in I think she also bakesh. She also seeks very diligently for things. Tabakesh, bakesh, to seek. She looks for good clothing. This one's looking for manoach. Bakesh lach, for you, manoach, rest. Asher, yetav, lach, which word? Yetav, this is a verbal form of tov. Tov is the whole thing of good or goodness, as an adjective or as a noun. Very, very extensively known. Tov. We've seen it a couple verses back when Naomi says to Ruth, Tov, it's Tov that you're good, that you're sticking with the workers there, with those the gals working on the field. So shouldn't I seek Tov for you, which is good for you, which is well for you? It goes well with you. It is, incidentally, in the previous versions of this word, those have been nouns. This one is a verb here, yetav. Okay, that's third person masculine prefix. Okay, that it is good for you, that it will be good for you. Okay, will be well for you. Seeking the best for you. Okay, tov miel, even in modern Hebrew, tov miel. Oh, it's very good. Tov miel. Ve'ata, and now, halo, is it not? Again, same kind of rhetorical type, negative style question. Okay, we've seen this already in the previous verse, finding out about finding manoach and finding out family or a good relationship, and now same kind of questioning. I think the other verse, this one is not, and now is not Boaz a relative. So this is asking the question again. Is not Boaz, Mr. in strength? Mo da tanu. Now, at the start of chapter 2, we will see this. We see mo da a. Okay, that's mem dalet ayin. Yeah, mo yada. Okay. Okay, we're going to start. We have to, when you have to sort things out, start with the base root. The base root right here is yada, and that's yod dalet ayin. Yod has suffered photosis here to the front. In its place, we have the mem, and so it is the mem converts this thing into a noun. You see mem doing that quite often with with verbs being moved into nouns, you do it with the mem. Also, in some ways, it's the causal form of the hiphil participle, but it looks a little bit more like a noun right here. Okay, modach, to be known, to be closely known, and the one who has, and so if you would take it all the way back, and incidentally, it is a little bit difficult to do the analysis of this word because it's really about the only place it appears in this form. The other form, the other root, in other words, yadav, yodalet, ayin, it's like hundreds of times in the Bible. So you see it all, you started already, and then the Lord knew. In Genesis chapter 3, chapter 4, first verse, same thing where Adam knew Eve. Okay, yada, same kind of. That's the root verb right here. Okay, this incidentally though is the noun form of this thing. So, moda ta. That is the condition of knowing. Okay, if you had to, I didn't look it up in the dictionaries, but the root, what would be the absolute root would be mo da. That would be the hey, but this one has a tau. That's a construct ending. Then that's the condition of knowing, the condition of being a relative, new to us. Okay, to us. This then is the first person plural suffix ending of this particular noun. Okay, we're going to peg it down as a noun here. Okay, mo da ta nu. He is a relative, close relative to us, who knows us and knows what's happening to us, and has to do the right thing. Okay, so there's a lot of meaning in this particular word, and let's just take a good look at it. Asher, where, in which, place, and then pointing next to the next subordinate clause. Ait et naharotav, in which you were with his young women. Okay, we've seen this one in the previous. I'm not going to repeat all of that explanation here again. Naharotav, nar is young man, nara young woman, narot, narim would be young man, narot would be young women. Okay, yeah, young servants. Yeah, his young women of him. Possessive pronoun here at the end of it. So hayata hanarotav, hine, wow. Take a look. Exclamation. Okay. The old translation here would be behold. Okay, if you go to King James, it's going to be behold. Hine was always translated as behold. So, wow, take a look. There's something very interesting happening here. Okay, hine, him. But when you have an independent pronoun in such a way, it's put in there to emphasize he, that one. Okay, it's kind of like singling him out. Okay, that one. Okay, Hugh, Zore, like I said, winnowing, and Zore is spreading out the grain in chaff so that the wind will blow away the chaff and the grain will fall down straight. Zore is also the symbols of the hands sticking out, the veins of a leaf sticking out. It's also the rays of the sun sticking out. A lot of things going on here. You also see it incidentally if you go right down through the zera, okay, the seeds. In other words, if you're willing to take the zayin resh and even stick out an ayin in here in place of the hay, you get the plants with seeds in them. Okay, zera. They're actually somewhat related. Okay, plants who have veins have seeds. Okay, even Zore, the arm that is stretched out is a zorah, is an arm that has strength, and we'll find that even in the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31 verse somewhere after verse 10 there. Her arms stretched out in strength. Okay, zorah. This is because they're stretched out. It's the arms of things that you stretch out. So zorah. He's winnowing. Okay, it's interesting. They were expecting him to be doing this, but in a sense, like we see, wasn't exactly doing that. He was out there. He'd had something to drink. He'd had a good meal, and now he's hiked out there and he's found himself a comfortable spot along beside the stones that form the base of the floor of the threshing floors have been worn very smooth. There's actually many comfortable places to nap, and right beside the mound of grain that is there. He's taking care of the grain, and he's taking himself a good nap there, covered up with his mantle, with his cloak, and he's just expecting to have a simple night's rest here in Zore. But it's like I said, Goren. Goren is the place where the wheat is separated from the chaff. The grain stays down. The valuable stuff or stay in place. The weak stuff gets thrown away. The chaff is thrown out. And Goren has symbolism in terms of in the time of Gideon, when he had to make a decision, he laid out the fleece on the Goren. Okay, he'd come out of the lagar. He'd come out of the wine press, and he'd gone up in a little higher place, and that's where he put the fleece. And so, okay, if the fleece is wet and the surrounding ground is dry, or if the fleece is dry and the surrounding ground is wet, on successive nights, it was in a sense of asking the Lord for a sign. And the Lord did make a decision for him. Okay. And after this sign was brought to Gideon, he, of course, gathered all the troops together to fight the Midianites. And so it became one of the most notable stories of the time of the Judges. And it began when a decision had to be made, okay, on the Goren. The Goren is a place of decision. David also was facing an angel standing at the Goren. He was about to buy the threshing floor, but the angel confronts him and says, "Whoa, hey, stop! We got something to discuss first." And it resulted in the death of literally thousands and thousands of his people. But a decision had to be made, and it was on the Goren. And so when and later on, the temple was built at the Goren and on the threshing floor. And when you're looking at, I was just meditating on this now. I've seen Temple Mount and all that. It's all covered in rocks and pavement and stuff now. But underneath there's some flat spot laying out there, and that was the place that David bought to build a temple. And the temple of the Lord, is a place where you come to the Lord and have to make a decision. Are you wheat or are you chaff? Are you going to be heavy and stick it out, or are you going to blow off into the surrounding valleys? And it's a very symbolic background here of Goren. Okay, Ashorim. This is the barley grain. It's the plural of barley, the grain that has the hair. Alila, in this night. Okay, tonight's going to happen. There comes time in our lives when we have to make a decision. Things come to an important crossroads, an important spot, and that's what's happening now with Naomi, with Ruth, now with Boaz. It's going to be a very interesting encounter there at the threshing floor, and other many symbolic things happening there. But here's very beautiful to see what the symbolism or the root behind Goren and the root behind the Zore, that is the winnowing, the process of separating good from evil and so forth, or useful from unuseful. That's Zore, okay, to thresh or to separate one from the other. So anyway, there comes a time when we have to make decisions. And when we make them on the basis of what is God's will for your life, study Scripture, consult with others who are far more mature Christians than what you are, and there comes a point that you're going to have to go to the Goren, you're going to have to go to the threshing floor, you're going to have to go to God's house and stand and say, "What am I, wheat or chaff? Which is it?" The wheat is gathered into the greenhouse. The chaff is blown out and thrown onto the fire. So very, very, very symbolic in terms of what's happening here. And now we'll get on to the reading. And V'tomer lach Naomi hamotah beti halo ivakesh lach manoach asher yitav lach ve'ata halo Boaz bodatanu Asher hayit et narotav hine hu zera et hagoren ha shorim halayla. And so, and then he said, Naomi said to her, that's the mother-in-law, my daughter, shouldn't I not be looking for you for Manoah, for rest, which will be good for you? That rest here will be good for you. And now, setting a time, is it not that Boaz will be, who is our relative, the one who knows us very well, knows what's happening, based on the Ruth Yadah here, who knows us, who you have worked, the second person. I'm almost expecting a Shua at the end of this one, but isn't there? So Hayit, that you were with. Here, this is, we've seen this in the previous passage with. It looks like a direct object marker, but it's a preposition with, and direct preposition with often will work either as preposition with, or sometimes we know that it can function as a direct object marker, but here it is, the preposition. Narotav, with his female workers, Nara is female, Narot is male. There's a plural of it. Narotav, his female workers. Hine, Hu, and he, hey, behold, look, see, he, Zero, he's separating grain and chaff out there on the threshing floor, and the grains this evening. Okay, decision has to be made. Tonight is the night. Go, and we're certainly praying that a decision will be made. So, very symbolic. We sometimes find ourselves in places where we have to make a decision, and then we make a decision based on what we know of God's will. So may God guide you in your decisions and guide you and strengthen you as you seek to do His will. Always seek to do the will of God in your lives. So may God bless, and may God keep you in this day.